Hello, everyone, and welcome to chapter 202 of the last Thoughts of a Busy Mind. This one titled Iran is More Than Food. I give you three guesses what it's going to be about. It might actually surprise you. Well, before we go on, my drink today is water, just regular water. Let me take a sip. Amazing, just good old water. So, this one that I want to talk about isn't just about Iran. To be honest, it's about a lot of immigrant cultures. And the reason I'm going to focus on Iran in this is because I am Iranian and the theme of this season is misunderstanding Iran. But believe me, this is not unique to Iran. The thing is that our fascination with food, with consumables, is an odd fascination, to be honest. I remember one of the first things I saw when people outside of Iran started talking about Iran, which was around 2019, and then later in 2022, was most of them just focused on one thing when they wanted to defend Iranians. They didn't talk about the Iranians' right to liberty, they didn't talk about our oppression and our need of freedom. They mostly talked about our food. They were like, people were like, I love Iranians, they make great food. And the first two times, three times, I was like, okay, that's a coincidence, but it's good that they actually like our food. But the more I heard it, the more it began to actively showcase something a little bit sinister. When you downgrade people to food, well, okay, let me come at it from another aspect. There's this old Ron Atkinson bit that is circulating again on social media. It's from a speech he did as a supposed conservative, where he's talking about immigration. And he's talking about Southeast Asian immigrants, Indians and Pakistanis. And he says, I like curry, but now that we got the recipe, they can go back. And a lot of people, when they talk about the food of Iran, when talking about Iranians, have that undertone in them. Because they don't talk about the oppression, they don't talk about Iranians as a people. First of all, when they talk about Iranians, again, I'm referring to the country. I'm not. I doubt they're talking about Azeri, Kurdish, Lor, or Sistani people. They're just talking about Iran as this region in the Middle East. So when they're talking about the Iranians, they're not talking about our oppression, our systematic oppression, the need of freedom. That is, they might use those talking points when they're advancing their Islamophobia, but they don't really care that much because, well, they got the recipes. And it becomes far, far more insidious when you understand that a lot of these people, a lot of these talking points are coming from people who are talking about Iranian immigrants as well. Iran has a massive diaspora. We have had two major societal, political, and cultural change in the last 100 years. The first was the deposition of the Qajar king by the Pahlavi king, and then the deposition of Pahlavi king by the Islamic Republic. And both of these events created massive diaspora. And not for nothing, all of the events in between them also did. A lot of Iranians just left. And so there are a huge number of Iranians outside of Iran, which is why a clown like Reza Pahlavi even has a base to begin with. But I'm sorry, it's just going to happen. I was going to say I'm not going to talk about the monarchists as much, but it's going to happen. We both know that they are just so funny, with how idiotic they are. They're just great fodder. for jokes. But Iranians are around the world, and some of them have created identities outside of Iran. A lot of them have, actually. I'm pretty sure a lot of Iranian diaspora are first diaspora and then Iranian. And a lot of them haven't even seen Iran. But there's also that whole idea of this, that these people do not belong. And one of the things that Iranians themselves tend to focus on to create that sense of belonging is the food. I was watching Bon Appetit, the channel before it kind of blew up on their own fucking stupid ideas and stupid practices. And one of the people in the roster of video creators was Iranian. And I was reading a post he where he talked about he used to say he was Italian because being Iranian had a little bit of a baggage attached to it. But when he actually admitted that he was Iranian, I saw that a lot of things he was forced to make was Iranian food, or when people were talking about him, they talked about specific Iranian things, as if his identity outside of creating Iranian food was non-existent. And again, we have good food. I understand that. Despite my love of fried chicken, and I do love fast food in general, I also love qeyme and pheasant, and genuinely do love them. Like, if I were forced to, like, eat something Iranian every day, I would go for qeyme and pheasant. There are a lot of things I don't like. I don't like qurma sabzi and all of that. But I understand the love of Iranian food. I sometimes can't eat foreign food because of how they use spices, which differs from how Iranians use the spices, which I believe to be superior. Come at me, culinary people. But as I was saying, I love Iranian food, and a lot of people do love Iranian food, but Iran is more than its food. When talking about the plight of Iranians outside of Iran, when talking about when Trump started expelling Iranians and started his anti-Iran rhetoric and all of that, when people outside of Iran began to look into Iran, one of the things that constantly was brought up was the food. And I understand that it's a humanizing thing. You know, you look at it and like, okay, this is humanizing us to the point that these people who ultimately may not care about our differences and our plight will look at our plight and our oppression and our lives and actually be moved. But it also is a double-edged sword and has the opposite effect at points. When talking about Iranian food, and I looked at people talking about Iranian food and talking about Iran in general, one thing became very clear in that if Iranians don't make good food, then they basically deserve to die by their government, by the bombs of Israelis and Americans, by bullets and all of that, because, well, you know, they don't have value outside of their food. Now, you may think I'm being hyperbolic, but that is definitely the gist of the matter when people are talking about Iranians. They're like, okay, yeah, these are people being killed by Americans, Israelis, and their own government, but you know, we should care because they make good food. They don't want us, basically. They don't want our food. And I can't tell you how dehumanizing that is. Again, great that you love our food, genuinely. Great that people like Iranian food. It's good food. It's genuinely good food. But our fixation on food makes us forget that there are people who make that food, that food came from a culture with people attached to it. And those people deserve a good life, even if they don't make you fucking food. As I said, it's not something kind of unique to Iran. I'm sure a lot of Latinos in America probably felt the same way. And I'm sure a lot of Afghans in Iran felt the same way, where Afghani restaurants became very prominent, and people started talking about Afghans in the same way that, oh, these people make good food, but let's still expel them. The thing about food is that it is incredibly easy to forget where it comes from. It's easy to grab it and put it into your own culture, even if you didn't make it. You know, the fact that as an Iranian, I'm eating French food and Mexican food and Chinese food and American food and just basically Polish food, German food, all of them are available to me, and I may not even know where they come from. And again, it's something, because if I don't remember where they come from, it's easy for me to dehumanize the people that made them. It's part of the reason why a lot of people try to claim ownership of certain food, why I think hummus is such a massive thing. In most of Middle Eastern and Mediterranean countries want to say, no, this is ours. Because when you tie the food to a culture, it seems like that culture matters, you know? And that's fucking disgusting. That's why I wanted to make this episode. It shouldn't matter that Iran has good food. It genuinely shouldn't. We could have made shit. We could have given you a patch of hot sand on a plate of poorly fermented bread, and it still would mean that Iranian culture, Iranian people, and Iran need the basic human rights that need respect. It is a very, very colonial thinking that, oh, these are savages that don't belong in the same reign as us unless they can make good food that we can eat. It's, again, a Eurocentric view, These are people that are not like us, so their worth and their value is if they can feed us things that we didn't know we could eat. And then, well, as Ron Atkinson jokingly said, we got the recipes. Back to your land. When 2022 and the Zanzendigi Azadi movement was happening, the Woman Life Freedom movement, I saw a lot of people supposedly spouting support for Iranians online. And I saw a lot of them talk about how, the depiction of Iran in the Western media is wrong, which is correct. It is wrong. And one of these episodes I probably will talk about that. But the thing is, they were, no, these aren't the people you see in the American TV. These people make good food. And that's where the argument stopped. And that angered me. They weren't like, oh, these people aren't the same that you see in American television, because these people are, for example, way more sympathetic than the American TV tends to show. These people are misunderstood in what the American TV shows. These people have human rights that are taken away from them by their governments, and when they look outward, there are people who are willing to just throw them aside by using just easy racism and Islamophobia. But the thing that got them to care about this other group of people was that we make good food. That is depressing. Again, not unique to Iranians. A lot of people cared about the Afghan crisis in Iran when they had to, contend with the fact that some of their favorite Afghan restaurants are going to be closed. And that's as far as they cared. If an Iranian came up and made an Afghan restaurant in the area, they wouldn't have give a shit. And that's the same for people outside of Iran caring about Iranian food only. If there is an American making an Iranian restaurant, because, it's easy. Recipes are easy, look online, you can also make Rayman First and Jude. It probably won't be good, but you can make it. And you look at it, and you learn to make it, and you open up a restaurant, and suddenly the Iranians that gave you the good food, you don't need them anymore. They can easily die. You now got the recipes. There are a lot of people who think that food is like apolitical and like, oh, food itself is neutral, and it's rarely the case, okay? Food is politically neutral in the sense that you can't really put a political identity on it. But how we humans react with food is extremely political. What we consider the people who make us the food to be, whether it's servers, whether it's people who we take the food from. The fact that chicken tikka masala is a British dish, even though, you tell me, chicken tikka masala, where do you think it fucking came from? That's the thing that I want to talk about. This is why Iran is more than its food. It's good that Iranian food has fans. It's good that people outside of Iran love to eat Iranian food. But if your enjoyment, if your appreciation of Iran stopped at food, fuck you. Genuinely, fuck you. If you don't understand the food that you're eating, if you don't understand the food that you enjoy, has people behind it, and those people exist in some place, and your caring of them goes as far as whether or not these food that you enjoy, you can have it for dinner or not, well, fuck you. Genuinely. You can go fuck yourself. I'm sorry if I sound angry. I am. I genuinely am kind of angry. I'm angry that this is happening. I'm angry that the worth of my people, that the worth of my country, that the worth of my culture, that the worth of whether or not I will be able to live is the fact that some people just like Iranian food. It makes me mad. And the same is true, as I said, this isn't unique to Iran. A lot of other cultures, especially those with a massive diaspora, have this problem, People want their food, people want their labor, people want the parts of culture that they can use, and they don't want the people associated with those things. They want the food, but they don't want Iranians. They want the songs, but they don't want Latinos. Cultural appropriations, they have a dehumanizing effect if you don't really look at yourself with a more critical eye. And you should. If all you care about the culture is the food, you're the one in the fucking wrong. You're wrong. And again, if your appreciation of a culture stops at its food, fuck you. And I will see you all next week.